members, we have Teresa, Kate, and Julie. I will act as an ex officio member. And in lieu of selecting a new committee chair, for the remainder of the year, I will serve as committee chair just until the board reorganizes in January of 2023, which is just around the corner. So with that, I will turn it over to Kevin's team, whoever would like to take it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel. And so Kim and Kelly are on the line, and they will be the representatives on the district side, facilitating the conversations about policy. Tonight, we have a straightforward agenda, but also some updates regarding our policy status. We had a meeting last week with CABE in preparation for this meeting. So Kelly and Kim will provide that update. And then we also have a policy that requires some follow-up discussion. We ended the last year talking about policy 9124, excuse me, I don't have my glasses. Policy number 9124. And this is the bylaws of the board recording secretary. The board might, the committee might recall, or members of the board might recall last year, as the budget season was wrapping up, I was making a case for revisiting the board policy, which currently calls for 2 hours per week calculated at an hourly rate set by the board to compensate the recording secretary, in this case, Cara Pompano, given the additional committees that are running now, that 2 hours per week was no longer representative of the work in that office, and respectively asked for an increase of actually more than 5. I think we had settled on a number of 5 hours per week. And so currently, and I can share this on the screen. 1 second. And this is currently how the policy reads now, which was last updated in 2007. The board shall appoint a recording secretary at its annual December meeting. And this is the line that I was referring to. Currently, it's at 2 hours. The recommendation agreement was to have language that would be recorded as 5 hours. And so I'll leave the remaining numbers for the board members who are not familiar with the role of the recording secretary, but it's essentially someone who's facilitating all of our subcommittee meetings and serving as a secretary to the board on their behalf. And so, Rachel, I'll leave it for the committee for discussion. I think we had ended last year that this was a reasonable number to kind of represent the workload in the office. So.
Yes, any discussion or questions from committee members?
I move that we amend this policy to 5 hours.
To bring this recommendation to the full board.
Correct.
Thank you, Teresa. Is there a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Kate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And then I will stop this share. The next one, and thank you. The next one is, frankly, I think a really good conversation that we had with CABE last week. Number one, there was an opportunity to revisit the policy work that had been done previously by the previous board when Rachel was the chair of that committee. And some of the questions that we asked, number one, kind of given the lull during the pandemic, there may have been some changes over the last year and a half or two outside of the pandemic policies? Are there any policies that remain outstanding, and or have there been any policies that have been updated that perhaps the district needs to revisit? Very quickly, really happy that CABE was able to turn us around so quickly. Very quickly, CABE responded. Kelly had a great idea to help simplify the matter for us. And in front of you, you will see an update on these policies. And Rachel, this is a very different list that we had to work with last time when we first started this audit. So I'll hand it over to Kelly and Kim to walk us through kind of the status of where we are now.
Sure. So I'll start, and Kim, please feel free to jump in. What we did is we asked, based on the CABE policy audit that was done in the 18-19 school year, we asked for them to, the board did a lot of work in making sure to get our policies back in compliance. And so we asked them to do a latest update just to first and foremost look for any policies that the board is advised to get in place immediately. So that's the list of the first 6 on here. And you'll notice number 6, which is the face masks coverings, is with a note at the recommendation of the public health department. So that is one that we've decided to revoke, so we can talk about that. But the other 5 we should get on the agenda in our upcoming policy meetings. The next ones are ones that under revisions. There's 3 policies under revisions. And the recommendation of the CABE audit is that those are policies we want to look at and just bring some of the language tweaks up into up to speed. And so those would be kind of the level 2 work. And then the CABE policy audit is recommending that we go through the policies series by series. They recommend starting with the 9,000 series and then going, in sequential order after that, just to make sure that all the policies are in place. But what you see on the screen will really get us immediately into compliance, and then we can move forward from there. Kim, did you have anything additional to add?
I'm muted. No, I don't.
Teresa, do you have a question?
Is it possible you can email that list to me?
Yes, we will send this to you following the meeting.
And also, Rachel, you have a question on a policy or 2 that were not updated? And sometime in the spring, if you determined that there were some policies CABE
That
did
looked-
not,
Yeah.
were those taken care of?
I'm not sure. I have to go back to my notes, Teresa, and look and make sure. But I'll do that before the next meeting.
And Rachel, if you wanted to share those with us, we can certainly look and make sure
Okay.
we organize the next committee meeting that way.
I'll do that.
Are there any other questions on kind of the next steps?
So the first 6 need to be updated.
You
And
need
the-
policies in those areas. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject. You don't have adequate policies in those areas, so we need
Oh,
to get.
no adequate policies.
Right.
The other ones need to be revised.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Sorry, Kel.
Fine.
So the next meeting will consist of 1 through 5.
That's for determination today. Is that,
Okay.
do we want to do all 5? Do we want to break them up into 2 sessions?
Oh, definitely break them up.
And they're in no specified order other than the
Okay.
series order. So you can decide what you want to do together.
Okay.
And so, Kelly, what we've learned the hard way, because ambition has certainly gotten the best of me in our policy during our policy audit, is that sometimes it's better off to just kind of play it safer, seem to get more traction and more momentum. There have been times we've had 5 or 6 in front of the committee because we thought that they would be kind of easier to move. And interestingly enough, those are the ones that for whatever reason, may have spurred even greater discussion that we even anticipated. So as to not maybe frustrate the group, it might be best to just go with 3 at a time, and we'll kind of go from there.
And for timing is, the next meeting I think is not on the calendar until February. So do we need to move faster than that? Or can these wait until February?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm looking at the ones that are up here. Kim, do you have any thoughts up here? I mean, I'm looking at Title IX right away.
Yeah, I don't, Kevin, I'm just looking at, what we've got posted, and I think we probably need a little bit better understanding. And that's why I think it's gonna take a little time to go through them one by one about why what we've got is inadequate. And I know some of them are old, but that's what I think what we might have to do honestly is put some of them side by side. Part of what we did with the web now is we've linked it to the CABE policies. So when you go on your website to look at Board of Ed policies, they zoom right into the CABE policies. And so I think it's just a question of, why some of these are inadequate. And I think that's just going to be a longer conversation.
Okay, so Rachel, I think to your question, if our next meeting is not until February, and we have 2 meetings in November, one left in October is really already spoken for. So I guess the question would be, could we get another 1 meeting in to review the 3 and recommend so that there's action in time for the 2 board meetings in November, given we're not going to have any action in December. So if it's possible to have one, Kim, Kelly, and I can identify maybe the 3 that's, most pressing, if the committee wants to try to get 1 meeting in before the November meeting, so we can have the first and second reading.
That's fine with me.
Okay. And if I could have, I mean, we can try to work through the calendar now, or I can have Kara work.
Yeah,
Can I
Kara
just-
and I can work on
Okay.
I just have
scheduling
one-
something.
Yeah, the only comment, because I'm looking at this red list, and some of them are pretty quick, like minimum duty-free lunch periods for teachers and other certified staff. I think it's just a matter of making sure we have the right version. There's not much to talk about. Either you have the minimum duty-free lunch period or you don't. So we may be able to do a couple more than 3, and I'm wondering if we should just maybe dig a little deeper on why they're inadequate and maybe make sure that everybody in the committee gets the kind of comparison version super early, because we may be able to do a couple more than 3, just looking at the ones that are here.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, Rachel, the good thing is we have the benefit of having in-house counsel speak to the policies, which might help expedite in some of these instances. So that would be good.
It certainly makes the meetings a lot longer.
Okay, so I will work with Kara to set up a time before our November regular board meeting. And then you all can pick what you think is doable in 1 session. Okay,
We just got the information back, so I think when Kim and I can let us work on it for a couple of days and put it side by side, and then I think we can make a reasonable recommendation. We can always be ambitious and try to do 5, and if we get through 4 and we're done, we can make a decision to kick 1
That's
forward to the
true.
next meeting too.
that's true.
Yeah, and I think the key too will just be advanced reading, because sometimes if we have to slog through it line by line while we're all together, it just takes a long time. So, for us, it will be making sure you get them far enough in advance that you have some time to review at your leisure before coming into the meeting. That will help too.
Yes.
So in terms of agenda items, those are the 2 big ones. It was the CAPE update, which we just reviewed, and then the policy update.
Okay. Anything further from committee members? Questions,
Nope, that
discussion?
sounds good to me.
Okay.
Well, I still have an hour and 10 minutes. Do you want me to talk about a few other things?
No, can I just clarify? So just repeat, Kevin. So the CABE updates and what was it? What else did you say?
Recording secretary provision.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Teresa.
I got to thank Ken for his help. got the laptop finally set up at home. So thanks, Ken.
All right.
Okay, with
Sorry,
that,
sorry for being late on the call. I had some sort of coughing fit. I'm still
Oh.
walking through.
Hope you're
so
feeling better.
apologize.
okay. So motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Back.
adjourn. I don't know if I should
Okay,
second
is-
you or I'm making the motion.
Okay, I'll second. All those in favor?